There is a sacred silence in Virgo that the world often misinterprets. To the untrained eye, Virgo seems quiet, reserved, perhaps overly analytical. But beneath the surface lies a cosmic force forged through lifetimes of perseverance, sacrifice, and service. Virgo does not move with the flamboyance of fire, nor does it seek the spotlight like Leo. Virgo walks the path of the sacred worker, the healer cloaked in humility, the strategist behind victories that others claim without knowing the architect who designed the triumph. Virgo is the earth in its most intricate form, fertile, ordered, and ceaselessly evolving. This sign does not seek applause, yet it deserves the thunder of celestial drums. The Virgo journey is one of refinement, not for vanity, but for integrity. In a world that glorifies chaos and noise, Virgo brings clarity, discernment, and unwavering devotion to purpose. It is not a sign that shouts. It builds, brick by brick, plan by plan, soul by soul. What no one sees, and what too few appreciate, is the immense inner labor Virgo undertakes to become. The countless hours behind closed doors improving, correcting, honing their craft. The silent tears shed when perfection seemed just out of reach. The merciless self-examinations. The nights spent reworking details so small no one else would notice. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, but it is not the fast, glittering speech of Gemini. It is the quiet precision of thought, the meticulous intellect, the kind that diagnoses the illness others missed, that solves the problem no one understood, that keeps systems from falling apart. People see Virgo's results, the clean success, the ordered life, the quiet competence, and they think it came easily. They do not see the doubts fought through in solitude, the overthinking that led to brilliance, the internal wars that forged diamond-sharp judgment. They envy the outcome but could not endure the process. Virgo is not born brilliant. Virgo is forged in the fire of tireless effort and divine dissatisfaction with mediocrity. There is immense bravery in Virgo, the kind that comes not from a grand gesture, but from showing up every single day, even when unrecognized. The courage to do what must be done without glory. The strength to support others while quietly bleeding. The capacity to endure tedium, to master detail, to find the sacred in the mundane. Where others see boredom, Virgo sees opportunity. Where others abandon the path, Virgo continues. This is not weakness. It is transcendence in disguise. Virgo is the alchemist of the zodiac, not because it seeks gold, but because it turns the chaos of life into order, the mess into medicine. Purifies, it heals, it serves. And in doing so, it elevates all around it. What the world fails to understand is that Virgo's power is not loud because it does not need to be. It is elemental, quiet as roots growing under winter earth. But those roots will one day break stone. In this sign lives the relentless will to be better, not for ego, but for function. Virgo is the sign that will save a crumbling structure, not for praise, but because someone had to. Virgo is the first to notice the detail that averts disaster, the one who catches what the world forgets. And yes, it may be critical, but that critique is love in disguise, a desire for things to be as whole and well as they can possibly be. It is a sacred calling, not a fault. People often mistake Virgo's calm for coldness, its analysis for judgment. But Virgo loves deeply, not in fireworks, but in constancy. It is a love that shows up, remembers your appointments, makes sure you're fed, reads between the lines. It is a love that wants you to thrive. And when Virgo offers advice, it is not to dominate, it is to elevate. Because Virgo sees your highest potential, even when you do not. What no one understands is how much Virgo has had to overcome. Not in dramatic collapses, but in the quiet grind of never being good enough in their own eyes. They've had to heal themselves in silence, build confidence without applause, hold others up while holding back tears. Every success Virgo achieves is the summit of a personal mountain climbed without witnesses. It is the product of self-correction, quiet resilience, and spiritual discipline. Behind Virgo's achievements lies a labyrinth of sacrifices made without complaint. Of all the ways they've kept themselves small to help others grow. Of all the ways they've stayed composed when the world was crumbling. Of all the times they were the strong one so others could be vulnerable. There is a quiet nobility in Virgo that is easily missed because it does not demand attention. But it is the kind of nobility that holds civilizations together. Virgo is not here to be flashy. Virgo is here to be essential, to build, to heal, to refine, to improve. It is a divine mission disguised in ordinary clothes. It is not dramatic, but it is eternal. When Virgo rises, they lift everything with them. Not with noise, but with grace. And though the world may never fully understand the depth of Virgo's devotion, its brilliance born of effort, its strength wrapped in humility, the cosmos knows. The stars remember, and in the sacred order of the zodiac, Virgo stands as the hand of the divine, steady, unseen, indispensable. There is a sacred geometry to Virgo that the world overlooks. While others chase chaos in the name of freedom, Virgo channels divine intelligence through structure. In the architecture of their mind lies a temple of ancient wisdom, where every thought is weighed, every motive examined, every step taken with purpose. Virgo is not simply detail-oriented. Virgo communes with the very laws that govern order in the universe. Like the builder of sacred temples who understands that symmetry is not aesthetic but spiritual, Virgo organizes not for control, but to align with the deeper harmony of existence. This alignment becomes a channel for higher service, for sacred work done not for recognition but to restore what is broken in the world. Virgo's element is earth, yet it is the earth as healer, not simply the material world. It is the herbalist who gathers forgotten roots, the midwife who knows the rhythms of birth, the steward of sacred cycles. Virgo is attuned to patterns that others miss, the silent language of nature, the subtle signals of the body, the quiet tremors of imbalance. In their essence lies the ancient archetype of the priestess, the one who cleanses the altar, prepares the oils, invokes the ritual not with spectacle, but with purity of heart and precision of hand. There is a mysticism to Virgo that few perceive, for it is hidden in simplicity, in daily acts, in care given without drama. The magic of Virgo is that it makes the invisible visible, the intangible usable, the sacred practical. Too often, Virgo is mischaracterized as overly critical or obsessed with perfection. Yet what is not understood is that Virgo's gaze is not fueled by arrogance, but by a soul-level remembrance of how things could be. This memory is not of egoic idealism, but of divine design. Virgo holds a blueprint of wholeness, of potential, of purity before distortion. This is not a perfection that suffocates, but one that heals. Virgo's restlessness is not neurotic. It is holy. It comes from an inner knowing that there is more to reach for, a refinement yet to be achieved, a sacred pattern to restore. The world calls them obsessive, but it is through this sacred obsession that masterpieces are born, that broken systems are rebuilt, that healing becomes sustainable. Virgo carries the karma of the servant, not in subjugation, but in divine dedication. In previous lifetimes, Virgo has been the scribe, the monk, the oracle, the healer who gave everything to the collective without seeking glory. That ancestral memory lives in the Virgo soul, the knowing that greatness does not lie in what you take, but in what you give. And yet this giving is not blind. It is intelligent. Virgo serves with discernment. It does not enable, it empowers. Virgo's love is not sentimental. It is medicinal. It enters your life like a diagnosis. Precise, sometimes sharp, always transformative. Virgo loves you by wanting you to become the best version of yourself, and they will walk beside you until you rise, even if you resent them for showing you the mirror. What no one tells you is how much Virgo suffers in silence. Their suffering is not theatrical, but internal, a storm of responsibility, an ocean of expectations they place on themselves. They are the first to feel guilt when something fails, even if it was never their fault. They carry the weight of the broken, the forgotten, the overlooked, and yet they do not collapse. They transmute. They take pain and turn it into process, turn grief into growth, turn wounds into wisdom. While others crumble under the weight of disappointment, Virgo rebuilds. While others lash out, Virgo recalibrates. They retreat not to escape, but to realign. Their solitude is sacred, a workshop of the soul where they tune themselves to the frequencies of truth. There is warrior energy in Virgo, but it is not loud or brutal. It is the quiet resilience of those who survive by adapting, who conquer by understanding. Virgo's strength lies not in dominance, but in their unshakable integrity. When the world loses its axis, Virgo becomes the axis. When others are confused, Virgo becomes the map. Their mind is a sanctuary for clarity. Their actions are prayers written in motion. They may not roar, but they endure. And in endurance, there is power that outlasts fire, that outlives fury. Virgo rules the sixth house, the realm of routine, health, and service. But in its exaltation, this is not mere labor. It is consecration. Virgo transforms the mundane into the miraculous. Every act of care becomes a spell. Every clean space, every corrected line, every meal prepared with intention becomes a ritual of devotion. Virgo teaches that mastery is achieved not in grand gestures, but in repetition with awareness. They prove that it is not the ceremony that sanctifies the act, but the presence of the heart in it. Where others seek transcendence through escape, Virgo finds it through embodiment, through devotion to this earth, this body, this moment. And though they may never demand recognition, Virgo deserves to be honored. Not for their perfection, but for their pursuit of it. Not for their control, but for their capacity to hold complexity. Not for their silence, but for all the truths they carry within it. Virgo does not only belong to the realm of intellect and service. They belong to the mythic lineage of those who rebuild the world after the flood. They are the stewards of civilization, the quiet keepers of legacy, the ones who hold the lamp when all other lights go out. If the world knew the weight Virgo carries with such grace, it would weep. If it saw the mountains they climb internally just to appear composed, it would bow. But Virgo does not need the world to understand. They are not here for applause. They are here to restore order, to awaken potential, to serve a higher truth. And in doing so, they fulfill their soul's contract, not through noise, but through mastery, devotion, and the sacred fire of purpose that never burns out. Virgo is the quiet revolution no one sees coming, the cosmic architect whose power lies not in chaos but in calculated transformation. Beyond their precision and quiet strength lies an element often ignored, Virgo as a guardian of purity, not in the narrow, moralistic sense, but in the ancient, esoteric one. Virgo safeguards the original code, the untouched potential of a soul, a task, a purpose. In a world drowning in distraction and disarray, Virgo upholds the sacred clarity required for true transformation. They are the high priest or priestess of the unseen temple, the keeper of ancient order in modern form. One of the most misunderstood facets of Virgo is its relationship with timing. Unlike signs that rush or rebel, Virgo aligns with divine timing, not out of hesitation, but because Virgo knows that the right action at the wrong moment is no better than chaos. This sign carries an innate connection to cycles, to the silent rhythm of harvest seasons and lunar flows. When Virgo delays, it is not because of fear, it is because of wisdom. This is the sign that teaches the world the difference between movement and progress. While others sprint to be seen, Virgo walks with the ancestors, with the rhythm of the earth, and in doing so, manifests with precision what others only dream of in abstraction. What the world often fails to see is how deeply Virgo is connected to healing not only of the body but of the soul, the land, and the collective mind. As a mutable earth sign, Virgo adapts with integrity, molding themselves not to please, but to heal what has been fragmented. The mutable signs are cosmic shapeshifters, but Virgo's adaptation is never aimless. They adjust to serve the evolution of what is broken into what is whole. They mend what others discard. They listen where others interrupt. They notice where others overlook. Their medicine is not always sweet, but it is precise and necessary. They are the sacred diagnostician of the zodiac, cutting through illusion to restore balance at the root. Virgo's intuition is vastly underappreciated. Because they move with logic, their mystical nature is often hidden behind the veil of intellect. But Virgo possesses a psychic system as sharp as their reasoning. Their bodies are instruments of perception. They can sense imbalance in a room, a lie behind a smile, a fracture in a relationship long before it breaks. This is not imagination, it is embodied wisdom. Virgo listens with the whole system, processing on levels most cannot access. Their nervous system is tuned to the subtle frequencies of disharmony, and from that attunement comes their relentless desire to fix, to cleanse, to realign. Their intuition is not dramatic or loud. It is internal, refined, and incredibly accurate. There is a silent pride in Virgo that is mistaken for modesty. They do not seek external validation because their compass is internal. But make no mistake, Virgo knows what they are building. They know the worth of their work, even when others do not acknowledge it. Their pride is not inflated, it is sacred. It comes from having risen from every mistake with greater mastery, from having created excellence not because it was required, but because their soul could not bear to offer anything less. They strive not to impress, but because their spirit demands integrity. Virgo's pride is the kind that holds its head high in solitude, that keeps going when no one is watching, that refuses to settle for mediocrity even when surrounded by it. Another hidden dimension of Virgo lies in their deep connection to service as sacred rebellion. In a society that worships fame and profit, Virgo's path of humble offering is revolutionary. Their work ethic is not born from compliance, it is born from cosmic defiance. By choosing to serve, to heal, to build, to improve, Virgo declares that meaning matters, that excellence is possible, that integrity is still alive, that wholeness is worth the struggle. In a world fraying at the seams, Virgo threads the needle and begins to stitch. Where others speak of ideals, Virgo lives them quietly. Their service is not submission, it is spiritual leadership in its most incorruptible form. Their relationship to power is also complex and rarely understood. Virgo is not interested in domination or display, but they are profoundly powerful in their ability to sustain. In a world that equates power with noise, Virgo wields power through constancy, through systems that endure, through frameworks that hold up under pressure. They are the engineers of future empires, the unseen hands behind stable foundations. They are not the storm, they are the architects of the shelter. While others burn brightly and fade, Virgo builds structures that last beyond their own name. This is the legacy they create, often unthanked but eternally felt. Within Virgo also lives a wildness, one deeply buried beneath layers of responsibility and control, but potent and primal nonetheless. This wildness is not chaotic but sacred. It is the untamed intelligence of nature herself. It is the part of Virgo that knows exactly how to survive in the forest, how to mix herbs for healing, how to sense weather changes without needing instruments. This wild Virgo is deeply connected to earth magic, to lunar cycles, to the sacred mysteries of embodiment. It is the wildness that emerges not to destroy, but to recalibrate, to prune, to make space for growth. It is the fire behind the form, the spirit behind the structure. Virgo is here to embody divine order in human form. They are not perfect, but they are purifiers. They do not control to limit, but to liberate. They do not correct to judge, but to uplift. Every spreadsheet, every revised draft, every planned schedule, every honest critique is a step toward wholeness. Virgo is the soul who understands that healing is not always gentle, that love is not always soft, that growth is not always comfortable. But through their hands, minds, and hearts, the world slowly turns from scattered to sacred. The epic of Virgo is not told in stories of grandeur, but in legacies that quietly shaped generations. Their mark is not made with noise, but with precision. Their name may not be in lights, but their fingerprints are on every system that works, every life that heals, every truth that survives corruption. And though they may often walk alone, they walk with the silent blessing of the stars, carrying a mission that is as vast as it is quiet, to make this earth more whole than they found it. That is the eternal, unshakable power of Virgo. Virgo is the sacred breath between vision and manifestation, the force that bridges dream and form with unwavering precision. There exists a cosmic irony in Virgo's story. The very sign that so often works in the shadows is the one upon which the light depends. Not for recognition, not for applause, but for anchoring all that is chaotic into order, all that is raw into refinement, all that is imagined into reality. This is a power that rarely calls attention to itself, yet without it, even the brightest flames of inspiration would flicker and fade into formlessness. What many overlook is the sheer complexity of Virgo's inner world. Governed by Mercury, Virgo possesses not just an agile intellect, but a mind that dissects reality with surgical clarity. While others swim in emotional currents or chase visionary fire, Virgo decodes patterns hidden in the matrix of experience. They see the mechanics behind behavior, the sequence behind transformation. Theirs is a form of genius that often appears simple only because they've mastered the most difficult task of all, to make the complex usable. But this mental agility is not cold, it is deeply devoted. It is the mind in service of the heart, the intellect in service of something higher than pride. Virgo's thoughts are prayers woven into plans, logic wrapped in love. There is a silent majesty in Virgo's capacity for constancy. In a culture that chases novelty and abandons when things become difficult, Virgo persists. They understand that anything of worth is built not once but many times, across long stretches of time, refined with every iteration. This is the path of the craftsman, the artisan of spirit, the one who carves meaning into each small gesture, who stitches significance into each thread of daily life. Virgo finds eternity not in the monumental, but in the meticulous. The world may never pause to admire the seamstress of the soul, but it is Virgo who ensures the fabric of existence does not unravel. There is also a kind of humility in Virgo that is often misread as meekness. Yet this humility is not submission. It is sovereignty in its most evolved form, the kind that has no need to prove because it knows itself completely. Virgo does not shout their worth because their worth is etched into the very structure of all they touch. They do not dominate space, they refine it. They do not impose will, they align action. They are not interested in being louder. They are interested in being true. And in this quiet, grounded certainty lies a strength that cannot be shaken. A strength that holds the world together in invisible ways. Virgo is also often misunderstood in terms of emotional expression. They are not devoid of feeling, on the contrary, they feel everything, often too deeply to show. Their restraint is not suppression. It is reverence. Virgo knows that emotion is sacred, and so they handle it with care, precision, and discernment. They may not emote in the ways others recognize, but they carry the pain of others inside them like a sacred responsibility. They grieve in silence. They heal without needing to be thanked. Their heart is not worn on their sleeve. It is embedded in every act of devotion, every effort made to improve a life, every unspoken support given at the exact moment it was needed. Their love language is action. Their loyalty is tested not in grand declarations, but in the quiet ways they show up, again and again, when everyone else has left. They will notice what others ignore, remember what others forget, and offer what others do not even know is missing. And when they love through growth. They will hold a mirror to your highest potential and walk beside you as you rise to meet it. They will not coddle weakness, not because they do not care, but because they believe in your strength. They believe in evolution. They believe in transformation, not forced, but nurtured through care and clarity. Virgo's relationship to self is often one of the most intense and sacred battles they face. Their inner world is a battlefield between the voice of perfection and the voice of compassion. The challenge of Virgo is not to become perfect. It is to remember that they already hold divine worth, even in their flaws. And yet, this constant internal refinement, this sacred tension, is what makes Virgo a vessel of such immense growth. They are reborn through each choice, each correction, each conscious surrender to what serves their higher path. They evolve not once, but constantly, shedding old skins with quiet resilience and stepping forward more refined, more aligned, more whole. Astrologically, Virgo carries the vibration of the sacred Earth Keeper. This is not simply about health or routines. It is about being a vessel for Earth's wisdom to flow through human form. Virgo understands the body as temple, food as medicine, rhythm as spiritual alignment. They are guardians of the sacred balance between spirit and matter. In their presence, the unseen becomes felt, the fragmented becomes whole, the overlooked becomes precious. Virgo elevates the everyday into the eternal by simply being fully present within it. Their destiny is not always loud or glamorous, but it is crucial. While others chase the stars, Virgo charts the constellations within the soil. They root the sacred into systems. They channel the divine into the details. They weave cosmic threads into tangible results. Their legacy is not always written in headlines, but it lives in the lives they've improved, the work they've refined, the chaos they've calmed, the light they've ignited in those who came to them lost and left transformed. And when Virgo rises to claim their worth, not from pride, but from profound self-recognition, they become unstoppable. They become the healer who restores, the guide who uplifts, the strategist who transforms potential into power. They embody sacred leadership, the kind that elevates not through force, but through example, through consistency, through integrity, through devotion to something greater than themselves. In the mythic fabric of the zodiac, Virgo is the sacred laborer of light, the keeper of purity, the silent soul who remembers what others forget. That the divine lives in the details, that service is sacred, that excellence is an offering, and that becoming whole is the greatest journey of all. Virgo embodies the sacred geometry of the universe in motion, an energy that brings divine symmetry into form through conscious action and silent commitment. What remains vastly unspoken is Virgo's role as a cosmic steward of unseen realms. Realms not of fantasy, but of purpose. This sign operates in the sacred in-between, not just between chaos and order, but between potential and purpose, between the seed and the bloom, between destiny and discipline. Their mission is to tend the subtle fields of creation where nothing yet exists but everything could be born. In this, they are not simply doers, they are guardians of sacred potential, the humble artisans of destiny. One of the most profoundly misunderstood aspects of Virgo is their role as a transmuter of suffering. They do not merely endure hardship, they alchemize it. Virgo has a soul forged in pressure, not because they seek it, but because they are called to transform the weight of the world into something useful, something wise, something beautiful. In every disappointment, they find data. In every betrayal, a lesson. In every flaw, a blueprint for deeper truth. Their suffering is never wasted. Virgo does not collapse under pain. They analyze it, they metabolize it, they integrate it into the sacred machinery of their becoming. This power is not loud, but it is enduring. It is the kind of quiet that remakes empires from ash. They carry an ancestral memory of a time when words were spells and precision was prayer. Their attention to detail is not trivial. It is a form of reverence. To Virgo, everything matters because everything is alive. Every comma in a sentence, every seam in a garment, every carefully prepared meal, every calculated plan is infused with the sacred knowing that the divine lives in form. Their diligence is an act of worship. Their consistency is a spiritual ritual. Their standards are high not out of rigidity, but because their spirit refuses to dishonor the work of creation by treating it casually. Virgo does not rush what must be honored. They do not fake what must be true. They bring the infinite into the finite by refining everything they touch. There is an initiatory power in Virgo's journey that is rarely named. They are often forced to confront life without shortcuts. They walk through fire that purifies, not destroys. This path of refinement is not glamorous, but it is holy. They are initiated through repetition, through humility, through quiet resilience. Their life is a gradual initiation into mastery, one that others often overlook because it lacks spectacle. But make no mistake, Virgo is tested. Over and over, in the dark, in the silence, behind the curtain. And with each test, they rise. Stronger, sharper, softer in the right places, more devoted, more precise. By the time the world sees their greatness, Virgo has already walked through 1,000 silent trials. And they carry those trials not as burdens but as sacred tools. Virgo's relationship to boundaries is another hidden strength. While they are givers, they are not to be mistaken for those who give indiscriminately. Virgo learns to protect their energy through sacred discernment. They know that healing is not always giving more, it is giving well. It is choosing where to place their energy with wisdom and purpose. Virgo's boundaries are spiritual architecture. They are the walls that protect their inner temple, the gates that preserve their ability to serve without depletion. And in a world that often drains those who care, Virgo's ability to say no becomes a revolutionary act of self-honoring that echoes through every life they touch. There is a mysticism to Virgo that does not wear robes or crystals but shows up in the way they structure a day, the way they sequence a process, the way they intuit what is needed before it is spoken. Their magic is functional. It does not draw attention to itself because it is woven into the very fabric of how they live. They are intuitive projectors of divine order. Their sixth sense is not loud. It is precise. They know what will collapse if not adjusted. They feel what needs to be rebalanced even before it tips. They are astrologers of the unseen, healers of the practical, alchemists of the ordinary. And in a world addicted to spectacle, Virgo's quiet sorcery becomes the most radical power of all. At the heart of Virgo lives a profound integrity that cannot be bought, borrowed, or broken. This integrity is not about appearances. It is about alignment. Virgo is not interested in looking good. They are driven to be true. Even when no one is watching, even when no one will ever know, Virgo's inner compass demands excellence. This is not vanity, it is devotion to something higher than ego. Virgo's integrity is the force that turns chaos into coherence, that restores trust in a world that has forgotten how to keep its word. It is the reason their word carries weight, their work endures, and their presence brings peace. They are not perfect, but they are trustworthy. And that, in a world of illusion, is a kind of spiritual gold. There is a sacred sensuality in Virgo that rarely gets its full due. Ruled by Mercury, this sign is often intellectualized, but Virgo's sensuality is profound. They feel through the body, the skin, the senses. Their appreciation for beauty is not loud or performative. It is cellular. They experience pleasure not through excess but through presence. The scent of freshly cut herbs, the texture of handmade paper, the structure of a well-constructed sentence. These things are ecstasy to Virgo. They do not need grand gestures to be moved. They are aroused by the authenticity of life lived well. Their sensuality is sacred because it is rooted in presence. It is not indulgence, it is embodiment. And in this, they teach the world that ecstasy is not about escape. It is about returning fully to what is already here. Their connection to cycles is also deeply embedded in their soul code. Virgo moves in rhythm with the harvest, the moon, the body, the breath. They understand growth not as a linear sprint but as a cyclical unfolding. This wisdom gives them immense patience, not passivity, but trust. They do not demand instant bloom. They know when to plant, when to prune, when to rest, when to tend. In a world that seeks constant results, Virgo aligns with the deeper pace of creation. And in doing so, they become sacred timekeepers for the evolution of the soul. Virgo's path is not about becoming everything to everyone. It is about becoming who they truly are, fully and unapologetically. Their journey is not upward, but inward and then outward. They spiral into themselves to refine what is essential, and only then do they offer it to the world. What they give is never half-formed. It is consecrated through care. And because of this, what Virgo offers is unforgettable. Not because it is loud, but because it is lasting. They are the holy architects of the future, building from behind the scenes the structures that will hold us all. Not with fanfare, not with force, but with clarity, discipline, and unshakable devotion. They do not just believe in potential, they actualize it. And in every step, every choice, every silent act of integrity, they remind us that greatness is not a gift, it is a practice, a ritual, a sacred becoming. And Virgo, in their quiet power, lives this truth more fully than the world may ever realize. Virgo is the silent architect of divine timing, a soul born not to rush but to refine, not to follow spectacle but to create enduring substance. What is often ignored in the collective understanding of this sign is Virgo's command of sacred timing. How they sense when something is ready, not because they follow pressure, but because they listen deeply to the rhythms beneath appearance. This timing is not merely about patience. It is about intuitive alignment. Virgo acts not when it is easy, but when it is right. This discernment is an act of spiritual leadership, anchoring a kind of maturity that the world desperately needs. The courage to wait, the strength to act with precision, and the humility to let go when something no longer serves its highest expression. There is a deep initiatory force in Virgo's journey through the body. While other signs may seek escape through the ether or transcendence through abstraction, Virgo finds enlightenment in the flesh. The body is not a prison to Virgo, it is a sacred vessel. They understand that every spiritual principle must pass through the filter of embodiment in order to become real. Their connection to health is not rooted in vanity or control but in devotion. They know that the way they treat their body is a reflection of how they honor life itself. There is sacred responsibility in the way they nourish, move, cleanse, and strengthen. They seek not perfection but purification, not as punishment, but as preparation for greater service. In Virgo's world, wellness is not a trend, it is a rite of spiritual respect. Another realm of Virgo's brilliance lies in their capacity to unify intellect and intuition. They are ruled by Mercury, but their Mercury is grounded, it does not fly, it walks. It listens to the earth. It translates the ethereal into the applicable. This gives Virgo an extraordinary ability to merge left brain clarity with right brain knowing. They are the thinkers who feel and the feelers who organize thought. They can decode cosmic information and bring it into practical systems. Their mind is a sacred conduit, not a fortress. They do not seek information to dominate, but to uplift. Knowledge for Virgo is not a trophy, it is a tool for elevation, for healing, for recalibration. Their mind is both scalpel and salve, slicing through illusion and soothing the wounds truth reveals. There is also an unspoken warrior spirit in Virgo, not the kind that charges into battle with sword drawn, but the kind that stands firm against entropy, ignorance, and complacency. Virgo does not collapse under complexity, they organize it. They do not run from mess, they transform it. Their courage is found in the willingness to face what is broken and still believe it can be restored. They walk into spaces others avoid and bring clarity where there was confusion, integrity where there was pretense, harmony where there was dissonance. Their bravery is not always visible, but it is radical. They are soldiers of sacred order, fighting not for control but for coherence, not for dominance but for discernment. Virgo's influence in relationships is vastly underrated. They are not often seen as the romantic ideal, yet they carry a love that is unparalleled in its depth and consistency. They do not fall in love with fantasy, they fall in love with growth. They will not sweep you off your feet with grand gestures, but they will quietly rebuild your wings. Their love is not loud, but it is enduring. They are the ones who remember the details that make you feel seen, who support you in becoming your highest self, who challenge you when you're playing small, and who offer a sanctuary when the world feels unkind. They do not crave possession. They crave evolution. To be loved by a Virgo is to be refined by care, reshaped by attention, and blessed by devotion that never asks for applause. Within their soul resides a deep karmic mission, one of purification not only of self, but of collective systems. Virgo sees what others ignore because they are here to improve it. They inherit ancestral dysfunctions not to suffer beneath them, but to correct their course. This makes their life path one that often demands more from them. More awareness, more responsibility, more integrity. But in rising to meet these demands, Virgo becomes a healer not just of individuals but of structures. They step into environments and detect inefficiencies, injustices, and misalignments not through judgment, but through vision. They carry the blueprint for wholeness. And even when unrecognized, they are shifting the very frameworks through which others live, breathe, and evolve. Their intuition is rarely acknowledged because it is expressed through logic. But Virgo's logic is sacred, not sterile. It is a logic that listens to patterns that haven't fully formed yet. It is a foresight wrapped in practicality, an inner knowing disguised as data. They sense the future by noticing what is breaking in the present. They sense potential through the fractures, the fissures, the fine print. And they act on this knowing before others are even aware there is a need. This is why Virgo is often ahead of their time, though they rarely seek the spotlight. They simply keep moving, adjusting, improving, refining, guided not by ego, but by service to the greater good. In creative expression, Virgo channels genius through the lens of devotion. Their art is never chaotic for chaos's sake. It is intentional. Every note they play, every word they write, every design they craft is infused with meaning. They do not create to impress. They create to contribute. They are sacred editors of culture, stripping away the unnecessary to reveal the essential. And while they may not chase fame, their creations endure. They do not merely inspire, they instruct. They do not overwhelm, they reveal. Their legacy is not loud, but it is lasting. Virgo is also a master of transition. This mutable earth sign holds the wisdom of seasons changing, of identities evolving, of lives being reordered from within. They are comfortable in the liminal, the undefined, the halfway point, because they understand that transformation is not instant, it is iterative. They hold space for process like few others can. When others panic in the face of change, Virgo steadies the ship. When others rush ahead, Virgo strengthens the foundation. They teach us that transitions are not detours, they are sacred rites. And through their own evolving, they guide others to move from confusion to clarity, from fragmentation to integration. Their power is most evident when they stop apologizing for their standards and start honoring them as the sacred filters they truly are. Virgo is not here to settle. They are not here to be passive. They are here to purify, to optimize, to elevate. And when they realize that their sensitivity is strength, their critiques are insights, and their attention to detail is divine orchestration, they awaken. Not into arrogance, but into embodiment. They stop shrinking and start shining. Not loudly, but luminously. Not chaotically, but consistently. Not for show, but for service. And in that space, Virgo becomes the sacred cornerstone upon which new worlds are built, worlds of grace, of order, of quiet excellence. In every unsung contribution, in every unseen effort, Virgo carries the light of devotion through the corridors of the mundane. And from that devotion, miracles unfold.